Bleeding purple and gold. From the heart of Los Angeles, this is the LakersNation.com podcast with your host, Trevor Lane.
Welcome to today's show. We are powered by LakersNation.com and CLNS Media. Now, today we are going to be recapping the Lakers' first week of the season. But first, I do want to mention that this show is brought to you by NatureBox. Go to naturebox.com/Lakers for 3 free phenomenal snacks. And MeUndies. Go to MeUndies.com/LakersNation for 20% off your first order of a very, very comfortable pair of underwear. And I do want to ask a quick favor before we actually get into the show here. We at the Lakers Nation podcast are relying on advertising as our way to keep this show free. So if you could do us a favor, go to the following URL. Go to podcastlistener.com/Lonzo2. That's Lonzo, like Lonzo Ball, and then the number 2, which is Lonzo's uniform number. So podcastlistener.com/Lonzo2 and answer a few short questions. It would really be helpful to us. Again, that's podcastlistener.com/Lonzo2. Now, don't forget, guys, go to iTunes, rate and review this show. If you have any questions that you'd like to hear addressed on air, please leave them in your review. We will make sure to answer them on air. Today, we're going to be wrapping up the Lakers' first week, and I've brought in Lakers Nation writer Hannah Kulik to help me talk about what we've seen from this young Lakers team in the first week and what we saw from them most recently against the New Orleans Pelicans. So, Hannah, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me on, Trevor. It's been an exciting couple days of Laker basketball.
Yeah, it has. It's been kind of an up and down roller coaster of a start to the season. I mean, they got blown out by the Clippers on opening night. That was definitely a downer, but then a thrilling win against the Suns and then finishing off the week with a tough loss to the New Orleans Pelicans. But, you know, it could have been much, much worse, couldn't it?
Oh, yeah, it could have been way worse. I mean, I know we were even talking halfway through, and I was like, oh, no, like I'm getting nervous. And then thank God they made a little push. My man Jordan Clarkson came in and really was that catalyst, and KCP had a great game, and it ended up being a close one. I thought they were going to be able to pull away for a little bit, but they just kind of ran out of their gas in the tank towards the end. But it was still an exciting game, and I'm still very proud at how hard they fought. They could have easily folded when they were down by 22, and they didn't. They kept fighting. So all in all, I'm still pretty proud of them.
Yeah, let's talk about Jordan Clarkson for a second, because he's been phenomenal this season. It's been really impressive what we've seen from him. I mean, I was tweeting about him earlier tonight. He has been the most consistent Laker. I mean, I'm looking at his point totals right now in the 3 games that we saw this week, and he put up 18 points, 17 points, 24 points. He's shooting 48% from the field right now. Of course, a tiny sample size, but still, he has been the most consistent offensive weapon for the Lakers at this stage. How is he doing it?
You know, in my opinion, Jordan Clarkson has been one of the most consistent Lakers just ever since they got him a few years ago. He's always been that guy that's been able to provide scoring on or off the bench. He's always accepted his role. Obviously, now he's really accepted that 6-man role. Tonight was another night where he really played well, and it wasn't even just the fact that he had 24 points in 25 minutes. He was playing really great defense at times. He was dishing out the ball. He ended up with, I think, 5 assists. But there was a little period of stretch there where he was, like, possessed. He was really the guy who had so much energy. And he was the reason that we were able to get back into this game. So I really give Jordan Clarkson a lot of credit.
Yeah, he has been very, very impressive. I mean, Magic Johnson challenged him to get himself into the running for 6th Man of the Year. And if he keeps playing at this level, then he will be. Of course, 6th Man of the Year tends to go to a player that's on a winning team, and we don't know if the Lakers are really going to be in that kind of conversation. But still, Jordan Clarkson right now is performing at probably the highest level we've seen since his rookie year, when he really burst onto the scene in January and took over as the team's starting point guard. Of course, that seems like ages ago at this point. So great stuff from Jordan Clarkson so far. Have to be really, really pleased with what we've seen from him. Now, Lonzo Ball, of course, is going to be the big topic for most people whenever they talk about the Lakers. Got off to a rough start against Patrick Beverley, but I like what we've seen since then. Even though he missed some shots against the New Orleans Pelicans, I think that he's done a pretty darn good job of showing just why he was the 2nd overall pick. What's your take on what you've seen from Lonzo Ball so far, Hannah?
Yeah, obviously, Friday night's game against the Suns was just unbelievable. It was, unbelievable, but it was amazing. He almost ended up with a triple-double. And tonight he had another pretty good solid game. He wasn't that great shooting, like you said, but again, he's the type of guy, he's going to have his great shooting nights, and then he's going to have nights where he's more looking to dish out the assists. He ended up with 13 assists tonight, which is very impressive considering we got off to such a horrible start shooting-wise. So he was really able to, impact the game in other ways. So I've been impressed with what I've seen from Lonzo Ball. It's definitely going to, take some growing room, and the more he plays, the better he's going to be. But I'm not worried about Lonzo at all.
Yeah, Lonzo has been, he's the type of player where we heard coming into the season that Lonzo was the kind of guy who really reads the game well, and he kind of takes what the defense gives him. And that's what Luke Walton was saying after the game against the Phoenix Suns when Lonzo took a ton of shots. I want to say he took like 27 shots or something, but he took those shots because that's what the defense was giving him. Against the Pelicans, he did have some open looks, and he took them when they were there, but then he also tried to pass the ball when that was appropriate. So Lonzo isn't the kind of guy where he's going to force the action and try to score every single time down. He's not going to try to pass every single time down. He's just going to take what's out there and try to make the right basketball play. And I think that's really, really important. I mean, it's going to be tough for him to adjust to the NBA and everything, and he's figuring things out, but he wants to make the right play every time down on the floor. He's not worried about his numbers whatsoever. In fact, after the game against the Phoenix Suns, he was asked, did you know that you were one assist shy of having a triple-double? As a rookie, he would have a triple-double. And he said no, he didn't know that. He didn't know that one of his last passes went out to the corner to Brandon Ingram, who shot a three, and he missed it. And if he had made that would have given Lonzo the triple-double, but he had no idea. He doesn't care really about it. He just, says he'll get it another time, and that he's just happy if they get a win. And I think that attitude, we've seen it since Summer League, is so important for this young team. Hannah, what can that type of selfless mentality do for this team moving forward?
Well, that just rubs off on the entire team, because that's something that's really going to be the key for this season just overall. It's just guys who are looking to come together and play as a collective unit, and not just looking to get their points, and are looking to be able to read the game and see what the team needs from them. And just another little funny, side note to Lonzo Ball. Tonight maybe wasn't his best game against the Pelicans. He still played well. I'm not complaining at all, but he still almost had a triple-double. He had 13 assists, 8 rebounds, and 8 points. So even on a night where maybe it wasn't his best night overall, you still see how much of an impact he has.
Yeah, I think he's going to get it. And I'm going to go ahead and say, within the first 10 games, so 7 more games, I think Lonzo Ball is going to get a triple-double. I think it's coming. You can see it with the way that he rebounds. He gets 6, 7, 8 rebounds without having to try a whole lot. I mean, he's putting in a lot of effort and everything. He's really skying for the ball and all that. But, he just kind of does it. It's not like he's focusing on grabbing rebounds so he can get the triple-double. And with the way he passes the ball in the offensive end, the assists are coming pretty easily for him. So I think it's pretty easy to see where I think he will get a triple-double sooner rather than later. I think that's definitely coming. The other thing that I've noticed about his game is that when the Lakers really need a basket, that's when you see him a little bit more aggressive when it comes to finding a shot. So it's almost like he's sort of taking that on himself already. He feels when the momentum is starting to shift, and then he shoots his shot. Now, that doesn't always mean that he makes it. Against the Pelicans, that definitely wasn't the case. He wasn't hitting a lot of the shots down the stretch that he needed to. Against the Suns, he did. So as he grows, though, he already kind of has that feel for the game and for what the game needs at that time. And that's, we don't want to compare him too much to Kobe Bryant or anything, because he's a very different player, and asking anyone to be Kobe Bryant is ridiculous. But Kobe kind of had that feel for the game too, where he knew when the big moment was there, and he knew when the team needed a basket and when he needed to score and all that. I feel like Lonzo kind of has that as well. Do you notice that, Hannah?
Yeah, I completely agree. And like you said, we saw that in the Phoenix Suns. He completely took over that game, and it was so exciting, just for Laker fans to see, this guy. Like you said, it's really hard to compare someone to Kobe Bryant. You can definitely see that mentality in him. So I'm excited. I agree with you. I think within the next 10 games, he's definitely going to have a triple-double. And I'm just excited because he's just only going to get better. And he's already pretty darn good right now.
So let's talk for a minute about a guy that has been driving me a little bit crazy. And that's Julius Randle. And I know a lot of Lakers fans have been frustrated with him too. But then at the end of the game against the New Orleans Pelicans, the second half, like it was like suddenly there was Julius Randle. He was alive again. He'd been resurrected. I feel like we haven't really seen Julius Randle since the regular season started. He's been kind of MIA, and now in the second half of the game, he popped up again, and we saw kind of the same old Randle that we were used to seeing. Hannah, what the heck is going on with this guy?
I think obviously he was very upset by the fact that he wasn't starting. I think that was just a huge blow to him. I think in his mind, he felt like he did everything in the off season. Obviously he got down to that 8% body fat. It might even be lower. I mean, he just really killed it in the gym. He worked out with everything that they wanted him to do. And so I think in his mind, it was a really big blow that he wasn't able to start. And he was just kind of a little bit of a baby about it. I mean, I'm not going to really give him a free pass on this. I was really frustrated with Julius. I can understand where he could be frustrated and not starting. But you know what? At some point, you've got to just suck it up and accept it and then make them want to start you. Come into the game and really impact that game. And instead, he would just come in and was just a total zombie. Didn't seem like he was trying. Didn't seem like he cared. But then finally tonight, in that second half, I don't know what happened, but, thank God a little switch went off in him, and he really started to play like the Julius Randle that we were used to and that we were expecting of him. So hopefully this is the start of Julius to just continue and use this to push forward and just keep playing at the level that we expect and that we want him to play at.
Yeah, I've got a bit more to say about Julius Randle here, Hannah. I think you're right on the money. I am going to pause for just 1 second here, though, because I got to talk about MeUndies. MeUndies is a awesome company. I am a customer of theirs. They are supporting our show, and they offer phenomenally comfortable underwear. They're just really, really great. I mean, you want to look good in your underwear and be comfortable. You want that perfect balance. It can be hard to find. Well, you don't have to sacrifice style or comfort. All you got to do is go to MeUndies.com. They are the best pair of underwear in the world. They're most comfortable underwear you will ever own. They're made from sustainably sourced, naturally soft fabric that is actually 3 times softer than cotton. They are the ultimate feel-good underwear, and they are guaranteed 100%. There's a 100% satisfaction guaranteed that you will love them or your money back. And right now, they are giving you an exclusive offer just for listeners of the Lakers Nation podcast. You get 20% off your first pair, and you get free shipping. You really can't beat that. They are so sure that you will love the underwear that they even offer a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Order a pair, and if you don't love them, you get a full refund. This is a no-brainer, 20% off, free shipping, and a 100% satisfaction guarantee. No reason to wait. Make sure you get your 20% off free shipping and guarantee. Go to MeUndies.com/LakersNation. Again, that's MeUndies.com/LakersNation. It's a limited time offer, so make sure you guys go check it out right now. MeUndies.com/LakersNation. So back to Julius Randle. Now, one of the things that has been frustrating for him, of course, is that not only has he lost his starting job, but he's also lost a little bit of what made him unique. Because Julius Randle was that power forward who could grab and go. He could get a rebound on the defensive end, and he could take off down the court. He was like a runaway freight train. He was incredibly difficult to stop. And you don't see many fours that can lead the fast break the way that he could. And the Lakers put a stop to that this year. They decided that they want the ball going through Lonzo, and so they asked Randle and every other big to make sure that once you get the rebound, you give the ball to Lonzo if he's on the floor with you. So that kind of took away part of Randle's game, and he's been trying to adjust. And then he got beat out for the starting job by Larry Nance Jr., and even though I thought Randle had a pretty good preseason, but so far the regular season, we just hadn't seen that. And Hannah, I mean, I talked to Julius Randle. I was in Phoenix covering Lakers versus Suns in the Lakers victory, and Randle only played about 12 and a half minutes. And I spoke to Julius and I asked him, I mean, he was looking kind of down. I went over, I talked to him, and I said, Julius, what can you do in the next game to earn more minutes? And his response was, it's not my decision. And that was not what I was expecting at all from him. I thought for sure he was going to say, "Oh, I need to make my defensive reads a little bit quicker, or I need to make this cut on offense, or something like that." He wasn't having it. He just said, "It's not my decision." So clearly, he thinks it's on the coaching staff to play him. So I was a bit worried about his mentality here. Is this going to be a problem all season long, or do you think what we saw towards the end of the game against the Pelicans is going to be the Randle that we're going to get from here on out?
I'm definitely hoping that this is not going to be an issue. With Julius Randle, you just never know, because for me, I really do like Julius a lot. I don't really want to speak negatively of him or anything, but one of his biggest issues just for me throughout his whole career has just been his inconsistency. So I'm really hoping that tonight was the night where he kind of is able to put the past behind him and just, even if he doesn't get a lot of minutes, anytime he's there on the court, he's giving his 100% and he's giving his effort and he's being the dominant Julius Randle that we know. Because if he's able to do that, then Luke and the other coaching staff will find him those minutes. It's just when he goes out there and he plays with his head down, he just looks like so lackadaisical and he just doesn't look like he even cares if he's in the game or not. That's when they're not going to play him. So if he goes in the next game after how he played tonight, and he goes in there and he really plays hard, and then I'm sure they're going to find him those minutes. But, you just never know with Julius.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, a big part of the reason why he spent the summer getting in shape was so he could have energy throughout the game. He dropped his body fat down really, really low, like we discussed. He's got himself in tremendous physical shape. But I'm kind of getting the impression that his inconsistent energy wasn't so much a physical thing as it was a mental thing. At least that's what we're seeing right now, because in that second half against the Pelicans, it was like someone just flipped the switch and then suddenly Randle was in go mode again and he was taking off down the court. He was playing good, strong defense. He was bodying up DeMarcus Cousins, giving him a run for his money, whereas in the first half we didn't see any of that. So Julius Randle is in a contract year. This is a big deal for him. How he performs this season is going to be the difference between getting a contract worth millions upon millions of dollars to maybe not getting that deal that he wants next summer. So it's going to be really important for him to perform night in and night out. So definitely didn't start the season the way he would want to, but whether or not he is in the starting five, he needs to make sure that he is consistently playing with the kind of energy that we saw against the Pelicans. And again, like you said, we don't want to speak too negatively about Julius Randle. He does have a lot of potential, and he can be a major piece for this team if he can get his head on straight and if he can keep providing the kind of energy that we saw going forward. So hopefully he will do that. Now, Hannah, one of the things that I was thinking throughout the game against the Pelicans was, okay, the Lakers got blown out by the Clippers. They barely beat the Phoenix Suns. I mean, it was way too close for comfort there. They won by 2 at the very end. Thankfully, TJ Warren didn't hit a couple of free throws. And then against the Pelicans, they were getting blown out. So the Pelicans are expected to be kind of a mid-tier team. Maybe they're fighting for one of those playoff spots in the West. Maybe they get there, maybe they don't. Right? This is not a team that you look at and say, okay, this is definitely a playoff squad. This is more of a mid-tier team. So that begs the question, if the Lakers are struggling with these mid-tier teams and getting blown out, they're not, I mean, how are they going to do when they go up against some of the heavy hitters, the Golden State Warriors, the Houston Rockets, some of these other teams that are in the West? I mean, obviously they're not going to be in very good shape against those teams, but what do they need to do in order to at least be competitive with some of these better teams, like at least in the middle of the pack in the West? How can they really compete all game with teams like the Pelicans, with teams like, say, the Memphis Grizzlies when they meet up with them? Hannah, what can they do to kind of level themselves out and get up to that level?
First of all, they've got to start the game on a better pace, because they're starting these games like we saw in the Clippers, and then again tonight. They were better with Phoenix, obviously, but tonight in the Clippers, they just start the game with no energy. They almost look like they're not ready to play. And then what happens is they just dig themselves in such a big hole that then they're trying for the rest of the game. They're spending all of their energy just trying to catch up. And, obviously with the Clippers, the whole game was just kind of a disaster. And then tonight we saw they had to spend all of their energy to catch up to the Pelicans. And once they did, they kind of didn't have anything left in the tank. So they have to be able to play a consistent 48 minutes of solid defense and, move the ball, pass the ball, get some sort of offensive flow going. And I think this is all just going to take some time, too. Obviously, this is a very young team. A lot of these guys are rookies. Their guy, Lonzo Ball, who is the whole offense is around him, was missed most of the preseason and missed, a lot of training camp because of his injury. So it's just going to take some time. But getting off to a better start is going to be one of the keys.
Yeah, they definitely need to hit the ground running a bit more. It's tough to play from behind. It's tough when you are, especially a young team, to try to play from behind, but the Lakers are going to have to try to get off to a better start, at least keep things close if they're going to be able to hopefully pull ahead and win some of these games. You know what? I've got a little interesting tidbit that just popped up here on Twitter. I think, and we'll see if I'm right here, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be a Lakers record broken this season. I didn't realize this was the case, but Shahan Ahmed from NBC LA tweeted out that the Lakers PR staff let us know that Lonzo Ball had 13 assists tonight, which tied for the second most ever by a Lakers rookie, and he was tied with Magic Johnson. The record for most assists by a Lakers rookie is held by Norm Nixon, and he had 14 assists. I think Lonzo's going to break that record. I think there's going to be a game this year he's going to get more than 14 assists. Do you agree?
Oh, 100%. And like you said, like we've been saying, this was even a game where he wasn't even that great tonight, and none of the players around him were that amazing. I mean, imagine a game where everyone's shooting lights out. He's going to easily surpass that.
Yeah, I think Lonzo definitely breaks that record. So we could see Lonzo already taking a Lakers record as a rookie. I think it's going to happen. We'll see. But anyway, back to what the Lakers need to do. I think that there was some problems out there with the offense. It was really, really stagnant in the first half, and we saw them trying to utilize individual skills quite a bit. We saw a lot of one-on-one play. We saw the ball moving a little bit because Lonzo's out there and he just keeps the ball moving, but we didn't see anybody really cutting. We didn't see any actions that were leading to any open shots or anything like that. So it was a bit frustrating watching the Lakers offense in that first half. It seemed like unless they forced a turnover from the Pelicans and they got out on a fast break, they really weren't generating very good shots. They weren't making their shots. I mean, that was definitely a problem, but they also weren't doing a very good job of just generating good looks. So that's something that I'd like to see them improve at. And it's to be expected because we know they haven't worked very much on offense. Their defense was pretty bad as well, but still, that's an area that I'm going to look for them to improve upon as the season goes on, is their ability to create shots for everybody on the court, for say, Brook Lopez, for Brandon Ingram, because what we saw, especially in the first half, was Ingram going one-on-one or KCP going one-on-one or Brook Lopez going one-on-one instead of one of those guys getting an open look off of some sort of an action, a couple of quick passes or something like that. We saw them trying to go to one-on-one play, and that's not what you want to see, especially on this Lakers team. Now, I did mention KCP there. Tonight was his season debut for the Lakers. What'd you think?
Yeah, well, it was very exciting because, there's obviously been a little bit of drama with the whole lineup with him being out. But KCP came back tonight, and he was very good. He had 20 points on 30 minutes. He was 7-11 for shooting. So he was really great tonight. He played really strong defense. He was kind of the guy that also kept us in. Every time we would get a little too far behind, he would shoot a shot. And he was the guy who really kind of kept us in there for a little bit. So I was impressed with KCP, definitely. So hopefully another great thing, he was hitting his outside shots, which is something that we brought him in to do. I know that's not necessarily what he's known for, but last year he was. So hopefully he'll be able to consistently do that. So I was impressed by my first showing of KCP in the regular season tonight.
Yeah, I thought he played well, and it was interesting that Luke actually stuck with Josh Hart in there for as long as he did, because the momentum was behind the Lakers, and even though KCP had played really well throughout the game, Luke decided to stick with the unit that was on the floor, and I can't really fault him for that. It was working out, but then he did go back to KCP at the very end, and you know what? I mean, that was a pretty good debut performance from him. I was a little bit worried about KCP after preseason because he did struggle a bit, but, well, it didn't struggle. I shouldn't say he struggled because he didn't, but he didn't really live up to expectations. Whereas in this game, I thought he did. I thought he was pretty darn good out there on both sides of the ball. So definitely looking forward to seeing more from him. Your guy Kyle Kuzma.
Yes.
Another nice performance from him. Kyle Kuzma, 20 points on 7 of 13 shooting. Certainly can't complain about that. 6 boards, 2 assists. I mean, Kyle Kuzma got 30 minutes. Larry Nance Jr. only got 14 minutes, and he really struggled out there. Should the Lakers just start Kuzma? Are we at that point, or just keep doing what we're doing? What do you think, Hannah?
Ever since Kyle Kuzma lost the headband, thank gosh, he's been back to playing at the level that we're used to him playing. And I'm just continuously impressed by Kuzma. I'm almost like holding my breath, kind of like waiting, like, oh my gosh, is this too good to be true? But it really seems like we have the steal of the draft. He's really playing at such a consistent high level. And I don't know if we start him or if we need that scoring off the bench. I kind of like how him and Jordan Clarkson have been playing together as of late, but I also love how him and Lonzo play together, as obviously we saw that in the summer league. So I don't know if we necessarily start him, but I know that, in the last fourth quarter, I want Kyle Kuzma out there on the floor. So I don't necessarily care if he starts, but I definitely want him to finish, and I want him to play as many minutes as possible because he's looking like he's going to be, alongside Jordan Clarkson, one of our most consistent scorers throughout the season.
Yeah, Luke, before the game against the Phoenix Suns, mentioned how he loves players like Larry Nance Jr. because he plays like a bench player. And he doesn't mean that in a negative way. Here's what he said, that he plays like a guy who's been coming off the bench, and that means that he knows he has to scrap for every single little thing out there on the court. He has to pay attention to all the little details if he wants playing time. And so that's what he really loves about Larry Nance Jr. in the starting lineup. He sounded so enthused about Nance that I don't know that he takes away Nance's starting role just yet. But then after the game against the Suns, he talked all about how excited he was to see the floor spacing that the Lakers had, that it was the spacing that allowed Lonzo Ball to get all those points against the Suns because the Suns were afraid to leave shooters. And if you look at the lineup that was out there, it was essentially the starting lineup of Lonzo Ball, Corey Brewer, Brandon Ingram, and Brook Lopez. But then in Nance's place, he had Kuzma in there. So it was Kuzma and the starters. And Kuzma is probably one of, if not the best shooter in that unit. So he made a big impact there. So it feels like Luke is kind of seeing what Kuzma's shooting can really do, because this is now that the New Orleans Pelicans game is in the books, we now have 2 games in a row where Kyle Kuzma has seen more minutes than either Julius Randle or Larry Nance Jr. So it's really surprising because heading into this season, everyone was saying, hey, you've got Kuzma's going to have a really hard time getting minutes because he's behind 2 solid guys already with Randle and Nance. That's going to be a tough task for him to beat either one of them. And yet, in 2 out of the 3 preseason games so far, Kuzma has actually done that. He has taken minutes away from them rather than those 2 veterans taking minutes away from him. So got to be excited about what he brings to the table here. And Hannah, I think you're on the money. Doesn't matter whether or not he really starts, although my one complaint is that I would like to see Kuzma play as many minutes as possible with Lonzo Ball. Right after what we saw in the Summer League, I think those 2 need to share the court as often as possible because they do have great chemistry. You with me on that one?
Yeah, I completely agree. I want to see Kyle and Lonzo play more together. I mean, as we saw in the Summer League, they just looked like unbelievable together. The chemistry was already there. And it was funny, too, because I remember Lonzo saying something, I think, in training camp, like, before Summer League, I had no idea who Kyle Kuzma was, and now I'm, really happy he's on my team. And I just think that's really cool. Guys who just instantly hit it off the bat and who just instantly have this chemistry, from the start. I think they're really going to be a special dynamic duo.
Yeah, definitely agree. When I asked Lonzo Ball when he was on the show, it was about 6 weeks ago or so, when I asked him who was really impressing him, he named Kyle Kuzma. He didn't say Randle, he didn't say Nance, he didn't say Clarkson or any of the veterans. He said Kyle Kuzma, and that he is just shooting lights out in practices. So it seems like Kuzma is just making it impossible for the coaches to pull him off the floor, and that's exactly what you want to do if you're a rookie. Now let's pause for just one moment because I got to talk about one of my favorite things, and that's snacks. Nature Box NatureBox has been advertising on this show for a little bit now, and they are awesome. I've been telling you guys this. Now, we all want to eat better, but when it comes to snacks, sometimes it feels like you have to choose. Either you are getting something that's delicious, but also a billion calories, or boring and tasteless, but healthier for you. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. You can actually up your snack game with NatureBox. NatureBox has over 100 snacks that taste good and are actually better for you. They are made from high-quality, simple ingredients, no artificial colors, flavors, or sweeteners. You can feel good about what you're eating. My favorites are their mini Snickerdoodle cookies because they are phenomenal. I love them. I love Snickerdoodle cookies in general, and the mini ones are super, super snackable, very good. And my wife's favorite is the dark chocolate nom noms, they're called, which is awesome to say, and they also taste amazing. So you can find your new snack obsession at NatureBox. They add new snacks every single month that are inspired by real customer feedback, trends, and professional chefs. All you gotta do is go to naturebox.com, choose the snacks you want, and they get delivered right to your door. And if you don't like it, you don't have to eat it. NatureBox replaces them for free. Right now, you can save even more, though. NatureBox is offering Lakers Nation fans 3 free snacks with your first order. All you got to do is go to naturebox.com/Lakers. naturebox.com/Lakers, and you actually get 3 free snacks with your first order. Again, naturebox.com/Lakers. Go check them out. They are delicious. All right, Hannah, let's talk a little bit about DeMarcus Cousins. I mentioned this on Twitter earlier today before the Lakers took on the New Orleans Pelicans. I said, hey, this is going to be the first instance where one of the major free agents from next summer is going to be in Los Angeles. And I got to think, if I'm DeMarcus Cousins and I just played that game, I'm thinking, man, if I switched jerseys, if I was on the Lakers tonight instead of on the Pelicans, instead of the Pelicans barely squeaking out a win, this is probably a blowout win for LA. I mean, this was a solid performance for the Lakers in the second half where they showed a lot. Those young guys, Kyle Kuzma and Lonzo Ball, showed they can play. Hannah, DeMarcus Cousins kind of has a reputation as a bit of a head case. Do you think he'd be a good fit on the Lakers? Is he a guy that they should go after next summer?
I feel like the rumors of DeMarcus Cousins coming to the Lakers are just always around. Like, I can't even think of a season where there wasn't a rumor of DeMarcus Cousins is going to come play for the Lakers. I don't know if he would necessarily be the best fit, but obviously he's a great player. He's like a total beast. So if he ever came to the Lakers, I would definitely open him up and welcome him with open arms. Obviously tonight, we just saw what a great player he is. He had, I think, 22 points. He's just very dominant on both ends of the floor. So I would be more than happy to have DeMarcus Cousins on the Lakers. I don't necessarily think he's my first pick just because he is a little bit of a head case, like you said, and there is usually a lot of drama regarding him. However, I would not be opposed to him coming.
Yeah, there is a little bit of drama, but you know what? Here's the thing that pops into my head with DeMarcus Cousins, and you're right. You can't be opposed to him coming because of the talent level, right? He's a phenomenal player. He's extremely good. I mean, he's the kind of guy that can really change a game. You look at his stat line from his game against the Lakers. I mean, he had, what do you have here? He's got 22 points. He's got 11 boards, 8 assists, 2 blocks. That's an incredible stat line for a guy his size. The only negative, I've been pretty impressed with Brook Lopez so far. I thought he had a little bit of a down game against the Pelicans, but that's a tough front court to go against in Cousins and Anthony Davis. But if you bring in Cousins, you're almost guaranteeing yourself to lose Brook Lopez. So I think that there are ways the Lakers could keep Brook Lopez, even if they add a couple of superstars, if they're able to free up enough cap space. The market next summer is going to be really, really tough. And so I think it may not be out of the question that Brook Lopez could be brought back on a somewhat cheap deal, at least for a year or two, and then with maybe a sort of a wink that maybe there's a bigger contract coming down the road. So if you bring in Cousins, you may lose the opportunity to sign Brook Lopez. So maybe that's something to consider. But at the end of the day, DeMarcus Cousins is certainly the better player. And I think that despite his issues, you probably have to give it a shot just because the talent level is so high with a guy like Cousins, and he'd be an interesting fit with this Lakers team. So again, not a bad showing for the first time that we've had a pending free agent visit the Staples Center. I thought the Lakers were pretty impressive. And again, if I'm DeMarcus Cousins, I'm thinking, hey, if I'm on this team next year, this barely winning thing where the Pelicans barely win probably becomes a blowout in the other direction. So something to keep an eye on as we kind of see these guys come through, guys like DeMarcus Cousins. Of course, things will be very tense when Paul George comes in, as well as LeBron James. So other things to take a look at. Hannah, last thing I want to talk about, something that kind of irked me during this game. The play where Larry Nance Jr. had a breakaway and he ended up elbowing Anthony Davis in the face. Did you see what went down on that one? Do you remember that play?
Yeah, I think I remember that one. I think I actually tweeted brow down.
Yeah, he did. He got elbowed like right in the brow. I'm not sure which side of the brow it was on, but he got elbowed on it. Here's my thing, and I'll get on my soapbox here for just a second. Anthony Davis is a human pogo stick. This guy is an athletic freak, right? It's like he was cooked up in some lab by mad scientists for the sole purpose of just creating a basketball monster. I mean, this guy is lanky. He can shoot from outside. He's got great timing on blocking shots. He can dribble, handle the ball, pass. He can do just about anything out there on the floor. He's incredible. And yet, Larry Nance Jr., I get it, Nance can jump, but rather than go up and contest, Anthony Davis slid over and tried to take the charge. Drives me crazy. In my mind, you are creating a very, very dangerous situation there. Either the player, most likely the player that is airborne is going to get hurt because you've got people sliding underneath him at the last minute, trying to hop in front of this little semicircle that's sitting there on the floor. Or, like what happened with this particular play, the guy that stays grounded is going to get hurt. Anthony Davis ended up getting elbowed in the face, which obviously didn't feel good. Could have been a lot worse if he had been cut or anything like that. You're also at risk for catching a knee. So I think there's tremendous possibility of having an injury with that type of play. And I just don't like it. I don't like seeing that charge called. I'd kind of like to see something else where they can maybe get rid of the charge or something. I don't like rewarding defenders for getting in front of an offensive player and falling down. I don't necessarily think that's a good basketball play. I don't think it's a safe play. I don't think it's something that should be in the NBA anymore, because to me, it is far more exciting to see Larry Nance Jr. trying to dunk all over Anthony Davis, and Anthony Davis doing everything he can to stop that shot from going in by trying to block it. Now, I get it, players don't want to be dunked on anymore because then they wind up in all kinds of video clips that just get tweeted out like crazy and everything if you get dunked on. So a lot of times guys won't go up and challenge anymore. But you know what, to me, as a basketball fan, and as somebody who likes seeing the best players stay on the floor and not be injured, I'd like to see something happen here to get rid of the charge. Hannah, do you agree with me, or am I just crazy to think about getting rid of the charge in basketball?
No, I agree, because players are always, rewarded whenever they take the charge. Everyone's like, oh, he took the charge. But at the end of the day, you're right. It is very dangerous. And I've seen multiple occasions where guys have gone down and they've gotten injuries, and it's just not worth it to me. So I think that there should definitely be something to, I don't know if you can necessarily get rid of the charge, but definitely you don't want to make a player ever think that they have to, put their body and have to take that. Because at the end of the day, it's just not worth it to get an injury and be out for an extended period of time.
And maybe you could do something where it's just for players that are airborne, because I think that's where you really have the possibility of a nasty injury. I mean, we've seen where guys have been undercut and then they wind up suffering severe injury. I mean, I think about Andrew Bogut and the injury that he had when he fell, when his elbow was like pointing the wrong direction and everything. I don't recall if he just slipped off the rim on that or if he actually got undercut. But the bottom line is a large man falling from, say, when they jump, he's 4 feet up in the air, right? If they're falling from that height because they get undercut because somebody slid under, that could be, I mean, not just a bump or a bruise. That could be a very, very devastating injury. And yeah, there are lots of ways that you could get injured, but I just hate seeing that play. I don't like defenders getting rewarded for doing that. And I worry that at some point something bad's going to happen. So I would like to see the NBA get a little proactive and do something about that play. But that's my rant for right now. It's just always my pet peeve whenever I'm watching basketball games is when guys take charges by falling down in front of a player who is jumping the way Larry Nance Jr. did. That I definitely held my breath for a moment there when I saw that, because I was worried that somebody was going to get seriously hurt there. I guess as we wrap things up here, let's kind of recap the week. Hannah, overall, what was your sense of this week for the Lakers? They played 3 games, got 1 win, 2 losses. Was this a successful week for them, or do you think that that maybe they should have pulled out a couple more wins? What's your overall take on the week?
I was definitely hoping that they were going to be able to win tonight's game, but I think overall, there's definitely a lot that they need to improve on, and I think that's all just going to come on from experience. So I think that these first few games have definitely been a great learning experience. They obviously, got their butts handed to them against the Clippers. Then they were able to win a close one up in Phoenix. They had to come together as a unit for that one, and that one was a very exciting game. I think they were able to really learn a lot from that game. And then I think tonight's game they were able to really learn a lot from too. I think hopefully now they're going to learn that they've got to be able to start games the way that they finish them. They've got to be able to come out stronger and with more energy and more focus so that they don't get themselves in these holes. But overall, I think it was a win just because basketball is back and because the Lakers is back. And I think that they're going to just continue to get better. So I'm going to say that this week was a win. There's definitely been some lows, but there were also some highs.
Yeah, I think you touched upon a really good point there, that basketball is back, the Lakers are back, and there were enough highs to keep people excited about this team. I mean, when we watched that game against the Clippers, it was like afterwards, Lakers fans were standing on the ledge, right? It was like, oh my gosh, is this what we're going to be seeing all season? And now against the Phoenix Suns, we saw a lot more. We saw everything we'd been hoping to see out of the team. We saw heart, we saw hustle, we saw a team that was fun. They were exciting to watch. Against the Pelicans, we saw both. We saw a team that were really difficult to watch. It was painful through most of it. And then the second half, we saw them come to life. And again, there's hope again. If they can be fun this season, if they can be exciting, even if they don't win a whole lot, that's going to matter when it comes to free agency. If they can be that team that makes some of the better teams in the league think, oh man, you got to watch out for these guys in the future. They've got something going here. That's going to be a win. And I don't think we can go that far. I don't think we can say just yet that they really impress people to that extent. It's not like you're looking at them just yet thinking, oh, this team's going to be dangerous someday. But they're close. They're close. They've shown flashes of that. And I think that's all you can really ask for at this point, that you see flashes of what could be very, very good and what could be very exciting and very fun in the future. And so in that way, I think it is successful. Yes, I would like it much more if they had finished off the game against the Pelicans and they were ending this week 2-1 rather than 1-2. But you know what? I think there's still a lot of positives to take away from what we saw from the Lakers this past week. So hopefully they'll continue with that, and we'll see some more strong play as we head into next week. Hannah, thank you so much for coming on here and joining me. Really appreciate you spending your time here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm always so happy to come on and talk all things Lakers with you, Trevor.
That's right. We do try to cover pretty much everything when it comes to the Los Angeles Lakers at LakersNation.com. And of course, Hannah is a fantastic writer. You can find her work there at LakersNation.com. And also follow her on Twitter at Hannah_Kulik. So make sure you guys go and check that out. Don't forget, sponsors for today, NatureBox. Go to naturebox.com/Lakers and you get 3 free snacks. And MeUndies. Go to MeUndies.com/LakersNation and you get 20% off. As always, guys, you can find me on Twitter at Trevor_Lane. And if you have any questions that you ever want to get answered on this show, go to iTunes. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to our show. Give us a 5-star rating and ask your question in the review box. And we will make sure that we talk about it here on the air. That's going to wrap things up for today. Follow me on Twitter at Trevor_Lane. This has been the Lakers Nation podcast, and we'll see you.